Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I apologize for the extra noises in the room, and you may hear the phone ring because they're going through something, and somebody in the house needs the phone over and over and over and over again, so they're playing phone tag and bureaucrat phone tag all day, and there's nothing I can do about that. So please excuse all of that. I wanted to make this video, which I've made kind of the same video before when I was talking about misleading YouTubers, misleading companies, and the myth that you need an expensive instrument or expensive gear in order to have quality. But recently, as my channel is growing, I've come under personal attack to where I've been followed around into my channel on other channels by specific people who feel like they have to debunk everything I'm trying to say, no matter how correct it is, no matter, what it is. Where I say that you don't need an expensive guitar or amp in order to have quality, they will sit there and attack me personally over it to try and make me look bad. Now, that is nothing new. It's been happening, but it's just happening a lot more lately because my channel's growing. So that's why these things are happening, and this is why I needed to make this video again. Plus, a lot of my newer subscribers aren't going into my older videos. They're just watching whatever new pops up. So I'm having to re-record a lot of covers. I'm having to re-record a lot of different, videos and things like that. So if you're seeing these videos show up again and again, that's why, because the newer subscribers are not going into my older videos. I have 700 and something, 750, 760 cover videos on my channel, guitar cover videos. And yet people are only watching the most recent ones lately. So I have to redo a lot of them in order for them to get some eyeballs on them. So anyway, with all that aside, so like I said, this is nothing new. I've been under attack before, but the attacks are kind of stepping up because it's now the Christmas season. This is the season where mom and dad are going to get Johnny or Jenny a new guitar. And these companies that sell these guitars for outrageously inflated prices, they now have a vested interest in selling these things to the public and making them believe that their high-priced guitar is so much more superior than a budget model or a budget offering, even from the same company. I've seen people putting Gibson ahead of Epiphone, and they're the same company. And I don't think they're doing it entirely on their own, but hey, that's my assumption and that's my suspicion. I may be wrong. But a lot of these YouTubers and music stores and stuff, they get directives from the guitar manufacturers that basically sponsor them and give them free stuff and say, okay, it's time to push this, or it's time to push that. This is what you need to talk about, and you need to make sure that anybody who is coming in to debunk what you have to say or what we have to say in our marketing is put down, or they need to be ignored, or their comments need to be deleted, which has been the case every so often. It just gets worse during Christmas season because this is when everybody is selling stuff to families and a lot of impulse buying is going on. And what these companies do with their marketing is they appeal to the status quo. Now, the status quo is kind of like what's accepted in public, what people see as this is acceptable versus what's not acceptable, and what popular belief is. And popular belief is that something that costs a lot of money has better quality than something that costs less. And that couldn't be further from the truth. But it's something that we've all been brought up to believe. Through television advertising, through endorsements by celebrities, through movie placement. Advertising and marketing is to convince people to spend money. There was a quote a long time ago, and I don't remember exactly who made the quote, and the quote was, "Brand causes people to spend more than they should." And that's entirely true. And it fits in with this status quo idea, because the general public will believe what each other believe. A lot of people have this herd mentality, and we as humans are very tribal, and we tend to want to fit in rather than go against the grain. Going against the grain is extremely brave. Fitting in is extremely cowardly, in my opinion. But you can take that as you will. I love to go against the grain. I prefer to go against the grain. If I see something that the general public believes that I know is not the truth, I will speak out against it and speak out about it. And I do that with the budget guitars. On my channel, I prove every single time I make a music video, every time I make a cover, a video cover, a song cover, I use budget gear. Nothing that I own was over $700. The most recent is the most expensive, which is my Epiphone G400 Pro SG, which I spent 400 and something on, plus I spent another 100 and something on the wiring rig, and then another 100 and something, almost $200 on the pickups. And it is much better, in my opinion and through my playing experience, than anything that the Gibson Custom Shop has to offer. Anything. And I'll put it up against those guitars at any time. The sound is incredible, the feel is incredible, the play is incredible. And it's been that way with a lot of the budget guitars that I've gotten. Now, when I say those things, I anger certain people. I know I anger the companies, because the companies, they don't want you saying something like that, because that is convincing people not to spend the $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000, and in PRS's case, $15,000 for their specialized private stock, which is no better than any other regular old guitar out there. It just has a name and it has a claim, and that's it. You can take the things that go into a private stock guitar by PRS. You can make a guitar for less than $1,000 that has the quality of one of those guitars, but it doesn't have that PRS name on it, so people aren't going to think that it's worth $15,000 just because of a name on a headstock. And companies rely on this. They rely on the peer pressure. They rely on the mental, tricks that they pull on people, as far as, well, the only way you're going to be cool is if you have our product. And that's been going on for a long, long time. I mean, manipulating peer pressure, manipulating ego, manipulating the status quo, that's been going on a long time with these companies. It's not going to stop. But please, don't be fooled by these expensive guitars and people championing them. I just can't say the word today. Championing them. Championing. There we go. Anyway, sorry. So, I'm just not going to use that word from now on, because it seems to be a tongue twister. But people promoting, we'll say that, these expensive guitars, and promoting that you could only have quality if you spend a certain amount of money. It's just not true. I have a $30 Stratocaster that it's a copy that I got off of Craigslist. I took it home. It had been neglected. I fixed it up, cleaned it up. I put a $20 loaded pick guard on it from eBay, from China. And it's incredible. It's got an incredible sound. I recorded videos with it. It sounds like an Eddie Van Halen Frankenstrat. And then when I record other songs with it, it sounds like them as well. It's really, honestly, the guitar only does so much. And if you've got a guitar that plays nice and it has a reliable pickup, then it's going to do what you need to do. The guitar sound doesn't really come from the guitar itself. There was an interview with Tom Scholz of Boston, the guitar player, and it's not Schultz, it's Scholz. Tom Scholz. And, excuse me. And they asked him, point blank, they said, so how much of your guitar sound, your signature sound, comes from your guitar? He said none. I don't get my sound from my guitar. It's a nice sounding guitar. It plays nice. It feels nice. But I can get my sound, quote unquote, with any guitar. And that proves it right there. The guitar is a tool. If it plays well, it's set up well, it feels good to your hands, to your physicality, and everybody is different. Not everybody's completely different, but people, there are all different types of hands. If you look at your hands right now, you may have big palms and small fingers. You may have small palms and big fingers. That means a lot to the radius of, to how fat a neck is and how comfortable that is going to be to play. There's a whole bunch of different factors that go into what's comfortable, what's not comfortable. And it's not one size fits all. And it's not price versus price. That has nothing to do with it. You can take Will's Easy Guitar and other stuff has proven that you can take a cheaper guitar or a budget guitar, quote unquote, and you can make that into the expensive guitar by just swapping parts out or getting better parts for it. It's the same wood, the same mahogany body, the same rosewood fretboard, the same maple neck, or mahogany neck, even if it's a neck through, or if it's whatever. There's no difference. The only difference is in price, and it's all perception. People seem to think that they're getting less if they're paying less. And that couldn't be further from the truth. But the thing is, I've gotten into these arguments with people where I've finally learned how to walk away from them. And they are arguing personal preference. They're arguing that, oh, well, you'll never get the feel. One of the big things that they've been saying to me is, an Epiphone will never be a Gibson because it doesn't have the same feel of play, quote unquote, that a Gibson has. And that is just complete and utter bullshit. Period. It's bullshit. You can take any guitar and set it up really well. I don't care what it is, unless it has catastrophic damage or the frets are so ridiculously bad or sprouted or things along those lines that you'd have to refret the whole thing. But even then, you can take these guitars and you can make them decent. You can buy a cheap neck. Necks aren't expensive. You can buy a neck that was like $50 and it still works out well. Eddie Van Halen bought a neck for $80. These days they're even cheaper. And he used it for his Frankenstrat. And he took over the world with it. That guitar only costed him less than $250, and now these days the parts are even cheaper than when he was buying them. I know, because I was alive back then and I bought guitars back then. It's the whole thing. People will go way out of their way to try and defend their belief in something expensive because it has a lot to do with identity, and that's the sad thing about it. I don't care about that, to say the honest truth. People can believe what they want, people can do what they want, they can buy what they want, but when they start to convince people that that their way is the only way, then that's a problem. I'm telling you that my experience, and you can take it however you want. I buy budget guitars. I've played the Gibsons. I've played and owned the Fenders and Gibsons, all that stuff. I've played the PRS guitars. I've been playing them since they began. And they don't impress me as much or any better than a budget guitar, because I've taken them and I've fixed them up, which doesn't take much, to tell you the honest truth. To do a good setup, it's an easy thing to learn. If you can learn songs on a guitar, you can learn how to do a good setup. So that's not an excuse. Where somebody had told me the other day that well, people don't understand how to do, it's beyond them how to do a good setup. Then why are they playing the guitar in the first place? Because they got to remember all these chords. They got to remember where all this stuff is. A setup is far simpler to do than play something by, say, Megadeth or even something simple by AC/DC or who knows who. you got to remember all these notes. You got to remember all these chords. You got to remember where they are. You got to remember the beat they're played in. And you can't wrap your mind around doing a simple setup and using a ruler and some screws. Come on now. Let's be real here. So that's what it comes down to. And this has just been a huge rant, I know. And I've probably lost a lot of you by now. But look at it this way. Bottom line is this. If you're still here, thank you, for one. And for two, don't listen to people who try to tell you that the only way you can have a decent instrument is if you pay a ton of money for it. And don't let them tell you that their own personal preference is law, even mine. You don't have to listen to me. I don't demand that you do. But the thing is, I don't agree with people saying that you have to spend a lot of money to have a quality instrument. And the fact that that may discourage a new player or a young player from starting on his or her guitar's journey because some person somewhere or some company told them, no, you got to spend at least $1,000 to have a good guitar, or $1,000 to have a good amp. That's where it's a problem. Thank you for watching.